Hey everybody, Mac here, and we're going to work on factoring by grouping. This is version B. I did a version A earlier, and on that one we kind of went over the concepts of how to group, how to do the factoring by grouping, but we made it really easy. We set them up nice. Everything were positive numbers. Now we're going to throw in some negative numbers and see if we can trick you just a little bit and make these a little bit harder for you. Okay, but they probably won't be, so let's see what happens. Okay, so now what I told you is when you look at these, you're looking for something common to pop out, and there's nothing common in all four of these. So you're done, right? Well, let's group them. Let's group the first half, and if you notice, I can pull out a 2y to the third. Earlier in this chapter, if you go back to maxtutorials.com, again, that would be maxtutorials.com, and I have way more videos on here. And in this section, which is chapter 8, I do a whole section on how to factor by using greatest common factor. I call it what's left over. Okay, and what's left over here, I pull out a 2y cubed. I'm left with a y plus 3. Now this one, I can't pull anything out, right? So what am I going to do? Now this one's a little weird, so watch me. I can pull out a 1, can I? Plus 1 times y plus 3. What's 1 times y? Y. What's 1 times 3? 3. But I put it in this form and I write the 1 because it's going to make it easier to pop out. And if you're going to notice, I'm going to have a y plus 3. And over here, what's left over? 2y cubed plus 1. Let's go down the column. I'm going to put a break right here. And I notice that what's in common is a 4y squared. Parentheses, I'm left with a y plus 2. Here I can pull out a positive 5, and I'm left with a y plus 2. Now I have two terms. I got a term there, and I got a term there separated by a plus. Is there any part of this that I can pull out that's the same? The answer is yeah. I can pull out a y plus 2. And when I do that, what's left over? 4y squared plus 5. And that, my friends, is factoring by grouping. Now, let's pull out some negatives. Now, this one's going to be a little different. Follow this one closely. If you feel like you got it, stop and watch this. Okay, boom, put a barrier. What's the same? A 6 and a y squared. What's left over? Y plus 2. I think you guys got that. Now, I haven't done this. This leads with a minus 7, so now I'm going to pull out a negative 7. If I pull a negative 7 from negative 7y, I'm left with a positive y. Now remember, you think division. If I have a negative 14 and I pull out a negative 7, I'm left with a positive 2. Okay, so be very careful about those signs. I'm now going to pull out a y plus 2, and I'm left over with a 6y squared minus 7. Okay, let's do the next one. I'm going to put a barrier right there. I'm going to pull out a 4y3. That's my what's the same. What's left over? 2y minus, well, I pulled everything else out. So if I pulled everything else, what do I have? A 1. Okay, and now on the second half, I'm going to pull out a positive 5, which means I'm left with a 2y minus 1. Hey, I like that. So I'm going to pull out a 2y minus 1, and what's left over? 4y cubed plus 5. If you notice, these all have the same pattern, a nice clean pattern. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to put a barrier right there. I'm going to pull out a 10y cubed. What's left over on the left? A y. What's left over on the right? A plus 2. Now let's do the second one. I'm going to pull out a plus 3, and I'm left with a y plus 2. Look, they're the same. So I'm going to pull out a y plus 2, and I'm left over with a 10y cubed plus 3. All right, let's go on to number 11. What's the same on these two on the left? I can pull out a 7 from both. That's my biggest, and I can pull out a y cubed. Well, what's left over? 2y plus 3. Now, how about the second half right here? I can pull out a positive 5. What's left over? A y plus 3. Hey, look, they're not the same. Oh dear. Why aren't they the same? I wanted them to be the same, but they're not. And did I do something wrong? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's just wrong and it's a bad question and that's as far as I can go. So sorry about that. What did they say? What did I put in for the answer key? Sometimes these are wrong. I wanted it to be a 2y plus 3, but I'm looking at the question and my friends, I can't make that a 2y plus 3. Now, if that was a 10, let's just pretend that was a 10y, and I pulled out a 5, then yeah, 2y plus 3. And then I could go 2y plus 3 because they're the same, and I'm left with a 7y cubed plus 5. Fine, but I needed that to be a 10. So that was a bad question. I apologize. We had one of those in there. All right, so number 13, what's the same? I can pull out a 9y to the 4th. What's left over? A 2y plus 3. Now this one, well, I can't do anything, so I'm going to pull out just a 1, because 1 will go into everything, and this left with a 2y plus 3. Now that I have the same, I'm going to pull out a 2y plus 3, and what's left over? 9y to the 4th plus 1. Cool. Number 15, let's go ahead and do a little break right there. 11, and I can go y to the 4th. It's always the smallest exponent I can pull out. And I'll be left now with a 2y, and I pulled everybody out, so that'll just be a plus 1. And then on this one, I can pull out a positive 3, and I'm left with a 2y plus 1. And as expected, parentheses are the same, so I'll pull out a 2y plus 1, and I'm left with an 11y to the 4th plus 3. Let's go on to number 17. Ah, nice big numbers, but I see a 13 that can go into both of these, and a y cubed. Well, what would be left over? How about a 2y minus a 3? And this one, I'm going to pull out a plus. I can put a 4 out of both of these. Left over, 2y minus 3. Hey, they're the same. 2y minus 3, and what's left over? 13y cubed plus 4. Let's go on to number 19. If I take a look at the left, I'm like, okay, what'll go in there? It's a 15. 15 is the biggest, and it's y squared. That'll leave me with a 2y minus 3. Here I can pull out a positive 5, and that'll leave me with a 2y minus 3. Hey, look, they're the same. 2y minus 3 and a 15y squared plus 5. Now, to be honest with you, you could even go further on here and pull out a 5 and be left with a 3y squared plus 5. And then, of course, you need to still keep this. All right, and that's really probably, well, sorry, 3y plus 1, not 5. Okay, and that's really a better answer. Okay, so always look in a parenthesis and see if you can pull more out. All right, let's go back to this column. We're only halfway done, but boy, are we learning. Okay, here we go. A 3, boom, y, 4. I don't need a parenthesis yet. Okay, 3y4. What's left over? A y plus 3. Now, watch this. I'm going to pull out a negative 2. If I pull a negative 2 from a negative 2y, I'm just left with a positive y. If I pull a negative 2 out of a negative 6, I'm left with a positive 3. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. That's one thing I worry about with my students. So make sure you're being very careful with those negatives. Stop, slow down, say the words, and you're going to be okay. Let's go on to number 4. I'm going to do the left side. I'm going to pull out a 5y cubed. And I'm going to be left with a y minus 3. And on this side, I'm going to pull out a positive 2. I'm left with a y minus 3. Doink, doink. Y minus 3. And what's left over here? 5y cubed plus 2. Boing. Number 7. In the left, these left two, I can pull out a 7, a y to the 4th. And I'll be left with a y plus 2. Here I can pull out a positive 3. And I'm left with a y plus 2. Hey, y plus 2, they're the same. Y plus 2, and what's left over? 7y to the 4th plus 3. Let's go on to number 8. Okay, ooh, this will be a fun negative one. I can't wait. So I'm going to pull out a 9y squared. I'm going to be left with a y plus 2. Here, pull out a negative 5. And I'm going to be left with a positive y plus 2, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, now I can pull out my y plus 2. And my final answer will be a 9y squared minus 5 times y plus 2. Going on here to number 10 now. Okay, the 6 and the 12 and the 18, I can pull out a 6, y to the 4th. I always pull out the smallest amount. And this is going to be left with a 2y minus 3. On the right, it's going to be, well, what can I pull out? A positive 2. I'm going to be left with a 2y minus 3. Hey, look, they're the same. 2y minus 3, and what's left over? 6y to the 4th plus 2. Now, when you see a parenthesis where you can pull out more, I can pull out a 2. And that'll be 3y to the 4th plus 1. But don't forget that we also have that. So we have to include everybody. Okay, I wonder if the answer key did that too, or if they left them not perfect. 10, no, they did. Look, they pulled out the 2. Good boy. Okay, or girl, or whatever that AI that created this problem is. Okay, that's why they're wrong. Okay, I'm learning to not trust AI. Okay, here we go. We're going to pull out an 8 and a y squared. And I'm going to get a 2y minus 1. Here I'm going to pull out a positive 6, which will give me a 2y minus 1. Look, they're the same. So I'm going to get 2y minus 1. And what's left over? 8y squared plus 6. But I can pull out more. So I'm going to pull out a 2, 4y squared plus 3. And don't forget the 2y minus 1 that was already there. That would be my final answer. Let's go on the 14. Put a wall there. I'm going to pull out a 10y cubed, and I'm going to be left over with a 2y minus 1. Here I'm going to pull out a positive 7, and I'll be left with a 2y minus 1. Hey, look, they're the same. 2y minus 1, 10y cubed plus 7. There's nothing more I can pull out. I am done. Number 16, I can pull out a 12 and a y squared. What's left over on the left? 2y. How about the right? Plus 3. Here I'm going to pull out a negative 5. If I pull out a negative 5, a negative divided by a negative, it's a positive 2y. Negative 15 divided by negative 5 is a positive 3. Be very careful with your negatives. So here I'm left with a 2y plus 3. And what's left over here? 12y squared minus 5. All right, 2 more. So right here, I'm going to put a wall. 28 and 42. 14, I believe will. Yep, it will. 14y to the 4th. That'll leave me with a 2y plus 3. And right here, I can lead with a negative 9. So I'm going to pull out a negative 9, which will leave me with a y what? Plus 2. Well, that's not going to work. What'd they give me for 18 for an answer? This looks like a bad question. 14y 4th minus 9. 2y minus 3. That is wrong. Okay, well, this is a bad question, so I apologize. 18 is not what it should be in the answer key because that is not correct. For that to be correct, this would have to be an 18 and that would have to be a 27. All right, but it's not, so we're going to let it go. And the last one, I apologize for that. 16 will go into these. So if I pull out a 16y cubed, I'll be left here with a 2y plus 3. Here I can pull out a positive 7, and I'm left with just a y plus 3. And again, they're not the same, so that right there is my answer. I cannot move on. Again, probably another bad question. I'll make a mark, and maybe in a future video, I'll fix that. Okay, guys? All right, but it's still, even though with these weird questions, I hope you're getting the hang of it. Just had a few more negative signs. To really clean this up, I'll see you in version C.